what we'll do. All right, well, let me go ahead and introduce Tom. Tonight's speaker is Tom Carey, and he's the president of the Upper Union Neighborhood Association. His background is in city planning, which must be the right background to have because he's just about one of the most diligent and persistent people I've met with working on this project. He's keeping it moving forward past all kinds of obstacles and setbacks in a complicated project. So with that, Tom's going to tell us what's happening right now with the conversion of the old casino building into a future environmental education hub.
Great, thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone at ECOS, Josh, Ruth, and many of you that I see that I know for this opportunity to talk about what I think is a great project, and I know some of you have I've talked about it separately, and others, great to meet you on Zoom at least. So Sarah, do you want to do I have the?
Yes, you are a co-host, so I'm going to let you go ahead and just share screen at the bottom where it says share screen.
Okay.
And that way you can have more control over when you want to flip the slides.
All right. So yeah, it is a little bit like riding a bike. When I ride a bike, I just get on and go. So give me just a second here. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. All right. Let me know if you can see the document.
And I see it clearly.
Oh, great. Okay. So I'm here to talk about the casino building in the park, which I assume many of you are familiar with. It's a fixture in the park, a project we've been working on for a couple of years now, almost a couple of years. And so let's get into it. This is the casino building, probably from last summer, maybe from the year before. They've cleaned up the vegetation a little bit, but it's a building that I was very tired of looking at in this condition, and I know many of our neighbors were. It's been vacant for about 12 years, 11 or 12 years. It's unutilized. It's a lot of potential. To many of us felt that it should be used for something. It's only a few hundred feet from the main entrance to the park, and of course it was a real eyesore sitting like that, and still is a little bit cleaned up. This is a view of it from 2014, just after the cafe closed. There had been a cafe, had been remodeled in about 2000. It was still in pretty good shape then. Unfortunately, it's been subject to a lot of vandalism and kids breaking in and kind of using it as a party place. I counted, we've called the police 7 times in the past year when we noticed that it had been broken into. And the parks staff has been very diligent about trying to keep it boarded up and respond to that, and the police as well. But it's as long as it's vacant, that's going to continue to be a risk, even though they keep putting it, kind of securing it more and more. So the building was originally built in the 20s or 30s, we're not sure. Could have been a WPA project, but it was then extensively remodeled in 1947. It's possibly after a fire. I think I'd heard that, but there's a postcard, and I didn't have a view that I could share on on the computer, but there's a postcard that's around that is a nice bucolic building cafe or whatever it was used for at the time from 1947 with people canoeing on the lake, and it looked then pretty much like it did in this picture. It was so we know it was extensively remodeled in 1947, and then again in 2000. But the 2000 remodel was mostly the interior. The deck in the front was added, and that was so that it could be used as a cafe. Unfortunately, the cafe was not viable. They couldn't keep they couldn't operate it as a year-round business, and so it didn't stay in business. I think there was a couple of different vendors that took a shot at it. Okay, trying to, I don't know if it's there we go. And so in December 2021, we had an opportunity when the city made ARPA funds available, American Rescue Plan Act. That was a big COVID relief, federal COVID relief funding package. I don't know if Art's on the call, but many of you probably know Art Clayman. Art and I were putting our heads together at one point, and several others from our group, and Art came up with the idea of using it as an environmental education center. Unfortunately, we only had about 30 days to put the proposal together. So I think we had a good sound idea. We wanted to use it to provide area youth with, as a base for some of the programming that ECOS does and was doing at the time. Provide youth with access to the outdoors, field programs. I also felt it was very important that any municipal project of this type, especially given the use, that it is a net zero building, which is completely feasible these days. It's, in my opinion, there's no excuse for any public building to be developed or built or redeveloped that relies on fossil fuels. Net zero, if you're not familiar with the concept, it simply refers to designing the building so that it produces energy on site, and is also very energy efficient. In our proposal, and that's still a part of this proposal, all the energy that's needed to heat and power the center will be generated on site from solar panels. I'll try to show you that in a minute. And basically, and this is still pretty much the program, the first floor would be community meeting space and exhibit space. Now there will also be a kitchen area that's retained. The second floor will be ECOS offices, and that's been modified slightly. There's a large patio I'll show you again in a minute, and we'll use that for exhibits and outdoor meeting space. Here's some, I should mention these, you'll see a couple of drone shots that are courtesy of Sarah, which were very helpful. We included them in that original proposal, but this is to give you an idea of where it is in the park, just to help you remember. This is looking kind of northeast. There's a playground across the way, and you can't see it through the trees, but on the other side of those trees are the tennis courts, and kind of up in the upper left corner, the Sustainable Living Center. I know I saw Janet on the call, so hi, Janet, and we're very close to that great facility, and we feel there would be a lot of synergy between the two. And you can also see in this the stone patio with storage space under it, but that patio is about the size of the first floor of the building itself, if not larger. So there's a lot of opportunity. It's a beautiful. This was taken in the winter, but it's right overlooking the lake, and a beautiful sight when you're up there. As long as you're not kind of looking at the broken glass and the boarded up windows right now, but that's really an integral part of the project. Here's another view looking to the east. You can see tiny tot land just across the parking lot. You can't really tell because of the trees, but well, straight ahead, you can see A Diamond, which is very popular and very used. That was both A Diamond and the tennis courts received significant investment a few years ago. And the baseball field is artificial turf, so it's used basically whenever there's not snow on it. They were out there in February this year. And you can't quite see in the upper right Music Haven. It's right there, and you can sort of make out in the to the left of Tiny Totland the Isabella picnic pavilion, big covered picnic pavilion. So this building is right in the center of the main part of the park, and it's a shame that it's been allowed to be vacant and sat there like this for so long. So we, after the project, the proposal we submitted to the city in 2021, I think I mentioned we only had 30 days to put it together. We didn't correctly estimate the costs. We way underestimated them, and it wasn't funded. They liked the idea, but other projects got funded ahead of it. Some of which have since had to give the money back. But be that as it may, we kind of first it took us a long time to get feedback and to hear whether it would be funded or not. And that kind of took up much of 2022. Although we weren't sitting still, we were trying to get build awareness of the project and get the word out. And we also during that period. Brought on, we were put in touch with Schoharie River Center, who works with Community Fathers Incorporated, and so this project has evolved that now it's basically a partnership of 4 organizations. Schoharie River Center, who's based in near Esperance, and does programming, youth education programming in Middleburg, Amsterdam, and Schenectady. Community Fathers Incorporated, who is a Schenectady-based organization with a long history here, and they were already working with Schoharie River Center on some of the youth programs. Walter Simpkins is the head of that. John McKeeby is the head of executive director of Schoharie River Center. I'm not, John may be on the call. Of course, ECOS and Upper Union Neighborhood Association. Our neighborhood association covers the northeast part of the city, just above the park, adjacent to the park, and along Eastern Parkway and Union Street and up to about Grand Boulevard. So we have those city neighborhoods. And of course, the city of Schenectady is an important partner because they own the building and get to call the shots. Although I will say that they've been supportive, and we'll see. Some other potential partners in this are the Electric City Bike Rescue. I mentioned there's a big storage area under the patio, and we're looking at the possibility of them moving their operations there or storing some bikes and some materials there. They do a bike repair program. So the Sustainable Living Center I mentioned, we're just very close to the project. The city school district, I believe Schoharie River Center has recently entered into an agreement. They're doing some programming already with the schools. Union College, we've been in touch with their community outreach folks, and they're very much interested, whether it's providing volunteers or in some other capacity. And the County of Schenectady, who we've spoken to, and hopefully will be involved in some way, and many other potential partners. We've just about everyone we've spoken to about this is excited about it, and several, you can kind of see their eyes, the wheels start turning and their eyes light up a little bit when we get talking places like the Seat Center or the I don't know, just a number of other local organizations. A couple of the bottom lines for us for moving this project forward, and that we know all of the other project partners share, are a commitment to environmental justice and to sustainable operations. The net zero aspect, and however else we can work sustainability and awareness of climate change and other kind of global environmental threats into the center, as well as increasing awareness of the first of all the great disparities that exist in environmental conditions between some of the city neighborhoods that are adjacent to the park and other areas of the county, and just some of the other issues. So those are a couple of the values that inform what we want to do, as well as I guess a commitment to youth education and working with youth. Some of the outcomes we expect, we will provide, when I say we, the main, the lead agency has become Schoharie River Center, and working together, ECOS will also undertake some of these activities, and Community Fathers. The Neighborhood Association will not be doing educational programming, but will be around. So providing educational program, we're anticipating at least 300 youth each year, and other activities and other people. It's not going to be limited just to youth. I'm sure there'll be programs that we're all interested in, and actually we've kind of been brainstorming for quite a while now, and a lot of great ideas have come up. We had a meeting. Sarah and Josh and others and I were on it last week, and we still had some great new ideas pouring out. We want to raise awareness of the environmental justice issues that exist in the county and in the city. Hopefully this will be a model for how municipal buildings and public buildings should be developed and redeveloped and operated. It'll provide some needed community meeting space. That was one of our motivations for being involved, especially during COVID, of course, but in general, it's been very difficult to find meeting space and just sort of unstructured community space, or a place to even sit and have a small meeting. The plan is to move ECOS offices into the second floor of the building, and I've heard from several of the ECOS board members a commitment that they feel that it's appropriate to move into the city. Schoharie River, along with the other great work they do, and I encourage you, if you're not familiar, please go on their website and look at some of the videos they've got of the programs they operate. They're already doing a fair amount of work in Schenectady, and they want to increase that, and also help get the word out about what they actually are doing. And then another important goal is the Parks Department has made, with the new Parks Director Willie Dean, who's great, and I can't speak highly enough of actually all the park staff, but he's made a commitment to increase youth programming and summer programs and educational programs in the park, and as well as we hope this will complement the other new facilities, such as the pool that's being built and will be open next year. And I already mentioned the tennis courts and the baseball fields, and there's so many other good things going on in Central Park. We think it's just a great fit with all of that. So here's one rendering of what it might look like when it's completed. A lot of this is still up for we've kept the deck in the front and tried to make minimal modifications to the building, respecting the history of the building, although we have gotten clearance from the State Historic Preservation Office that it's been altered so much, it's not, there's not a great historic value from, we don't have that restriction that we have to deal with. Sorry, I want to make sure here's one concept for the patio in the back. Probably won't end up looking exactly like this, but the idea is to put maybe a solar canopy over part of the patio. The roof is slate, so the roof's not a good candidate for rooftop solar. We might be able to use one of those flat roofs on the wings for some of this. But also that patio gets full sun all day long and all year long, pretty much. So to put some sort of canopy over part of the patio, at least like you might see in a parking lot that's got a solar canopy, it's a pretty well tested idea by now, and it actually won't take a lot of area to fairly modestly sized system should be able to provide the energy that's needed to run this building. We're also going to look at perhaps solar thermal for hot water, and we're going to make the building really super energy efficient too, because that's possibly using what's called passive house standards. That's how you make a net zero building work between what we know these days about energy efficiency and building science and the potential for using renewables, and the cost of those has actually come down quite a bit. So I want to, let's see, we want to be careful. I mentioned all these different things that we, ideas that we had for the program, but we also at the same time want to keep in mind and be careful not to have too scattered a focus. We want to keep the main priorities: environmental sustainability, environmental education, and I meant energy sustainability, environmental education, and the commitment to environmental justice in the neighborhoods. We want to make sure those are foremost. One thing I wanted to mention before, I'm going to just go back here for a second. Maybe I'm not going to go back. One thing I wanted to mention was that we we began late 2022 and 2023 an advocacy campaign. We tried to get this out in front of the public and frankly use that a little bit as pressure on the city to fund the project or to help us move it along. But also to raise awareness and build support. And I think we were fairly successful at that. Art wrote a Gazette editorial last December that got picked up and got a lot of coverage. We had several good news stories. We were able to turn out fairly large crowds at a couple of city council meetings, and that also generates some media coverage. And then when we got our funding announcement, our state funding, I'll mention in just a minute, we had, the Assembly really knows how to generate media coverage for those things. And we got great coverage from that. And the idea of the facility got picked up all over the place. So we were happy to see that. So just to, briefly see the slide with funding. We applied for and received what's called a micro grant, a $6,000 grant from the Schenectady Foundation for preliminary design work over the summer, and that helped us. That's what the renderings you saw came from, and that just helped us apply for other things and get some momentum. We hired Keith Kramer architects. Keith Kramer and he brought on a fellow named Sam Simmons, and they did the renderings and some preliminary plans. And you may know, if you don't know Keith, you are probably familiar with his work. He did the visitor center at Maybe Farm, and that's a beautiful building, and actually also has a solar canopy over a picnic area there. And he's done several other good things in the area. And Sam has been great to work with. And so we were very excited and happy to be able to hire them, at least for the preliminary work. The Assemblyman Santa Barbara included funding for this. It provided a municipal facilities grant of $500,000, which we expect to fund the bulk of the project. And we had a funding announcement, a nice event at the building last month. And then the city included as well, they've included $250,000 for the project. There may be some small other work items in that $250,000 that are outside of our project, but the bulk of that will go to the Environmental Education Center. And we're really happy and grateful to the mayor and the city, and hopefully the council as well, when they approve the budget, for including that funding. It's going to be crucial, and between those two amounts, it will get us most of the way there to what we need. The budget is currently, I think they've finished the public hearings for it, and the timing is that it gets voted on and put into place typically by November 1st, I think, or maybe possibly gets voted on right after November 1st. But the mayor has submitted it. The entire council has indicated that they support it. So we're very pleased with that. We will probably need some other funding to complete the project and to furnish it and do the exhibits and some of the other things we need. So we're going to look at other, possibly foundation grants. There are various incentives for the energy work that are available, although they don't make it easy to even find information on that. We're prepared to do fundraising, something that possibly the neighborhood association could take the lead on. And we have a number of people, including potentially Union College students, that have indicated they would volunteer, which would be great to involve people. Also, I want to mention that Schoharie River Center has secured at least a couple of grants to operate the programs that they anticipate to be done through the center. I think their urban ecology program and I'm sorry, right? I can't think of the name right off the top of my head, but they do have funding in place for at least part of those. I know John was able to apply for and received a grant from DEC and at least one other source. And so their plan is that hopefully part of their programming will be based out of this, and it'll serve the youth of Schenectady. But even if this isn't ready, or for whatever reason doesn't happen as planned, they're prepared to operate those programs in the city anyways, and that's actually very helpful for securing the funding to develop the project, because typically the operating funding is the harder part. And when you can show a funding source that the operating funds are in place, that helps. So our next steps, we need to finalize the design and the interior layout and a number of details that we're working on currently, talking to all of the partners, talking to each other, and hopefully next week we'll be able to get that all together, meet with the architects, have that kind of finalized into, okay, here's our current proposal, and bring that to the city. And we also have to talk to the city about any particular grant requirements. This $500,000 municipal facilities grant, I believe, goes through Parks and Recreation, the state Parks Office agency, and we just need to make sure there's no. We need to make sure we do everything necessary or support the city in doing whatever they need to do to access this funds. We need to still identify, as I mentioned, some additional sources of funding. Hopefully, can bring in funding for the renewables to make sure that happens. Then, when the funding's in place, when we understand what all the different funding source requirements are, we proceed to finalize the design so that the city can bid the project and award contracts. We anticipate there will be a lease agreement between the city and Schoharie River Center, and either whether ECOS is part of that or has a separate agreement with Schoharie, all of those details have to be worked out. Hopefully so that construction can happen during 2024. I think it would be best case, it would, maybe during the summer, and complete the project ideally by the end of next year, so that we can get it up and running. And this will be a year-round facility. It's not just something that'll be used in the summer when school's out. The idea is that this will be staffed every day, every week, or at least every weekday, but a lot of weekend programs. It'll be available to some extent in the evening for community groups, and by keeping people in it, by using the building and reactivating this building, that's how we protect it, and that's how we and it contributes to the park and to the entire city that way. So that's our story so far. If anyone has any questions or comments, there's my contact information. If you don't have it, feel free to reach out, and we can share this afterwards. But thank you all for listening, and
This was
sorry.
great, Tom. I'm gonna let everybody unmute themselves as they'd like to ask questions, and I'm sure there's quite a few. So
I guess one point before we open it up, we definitely welcome any comments from the membership about use cases. I think we're starting to look at the space we have today at the community center and see what that translates to, what we think our needs are going forward. The use of the space, both the office and the meeting space. I don't see John McKeevy's not on, is he?
I don't see John.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's been his usual incredibly effective self at helping push this project along. So as Tom mentioned, the Schenectady River Center already has funding in place to fund a full-time staffer to man the office here in the site year-round when it comes to fruition. Obviously, ECOS doesn't have the budget to do that right now. We have one part-time staff and then volunteer staff. So we're figuring out how much time we'll be able to staff our office and how we can use that time most effectively.
Okay, so sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it.
Okay, if you want to maybe just unmute yourself, raise your hand, and I'm going to quick slip in my question while other people are formulating theirs. What, John, is like the structure of, you've spearheaded this, but for example, when people want to just donate, what's the organization? What's the structure like? Where, how is that set up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And usually when a presenter says that, it means they don't know the answer. So right now, I think the way to do that would be to donate. I think the most useful thing would be to donate either to ECOS or to Schoharie River Center to support their operations right now, because we don't have a fundraising effort underway to channel funds into the development, partly because we don't know exactly what's going to cost yet, and So we're not quite there yet, but if somebody's really anxious, you want to get it on your Christmas list or your holiday giving, year end, whatever. I think the thing to do is to donate to ECOS and Schoharie River Center to support the operations.
Has Keith given any idea of the cost?
No, we didn't hire. We didn't have enough money to pay them to do any kind of cost estimate. I mean, some ballpark, informal estimates that also Chris Wallen, the city's engineer, has looked at it, and we think it's in the hopefully $700,000 to $800,000 range, but costs are crazy right now in any kind of construction. You probably all know the pool that they expected to cost $5 million came in close to $10 million. So this is nowhere near as complicated a project. We're not going in the ground for anything. We're not really building. The building structure is in good shape. So hopefully there's less variability because of that. But yeah, that's going to be the big question. Right now, the best guess is $700,000 to $800,000. Hi, Kat. You're muted.
Hey there.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments and then a question. One is about like funding sources. I know that the arts, I don't know what the organization is. Maybe it goes through Schenectady Foundation, but the whole Art Fest and Kids Art Festival, it's so big right now, and they're opening, having the grand opening for that place on J Street, the art. I don't know what it's even called, but I can find that out. But they are really good at getting some funding, and so if there is a partnership, or I don't exactly know what that would look like, but they might be something to bring, a group to bring in, and also the Schenectady County Historical Society. I know that you're not a historical building because it's changed so much, but they do a lot of stuff with just things that have been going on in the county, like the history. And so this is I think it's historical, whether it's
right,
officially or not. So they also are having a good, success at some funding. So I don't know if those might be two other groups that, you might have a conversation with, or you. And then the other thing is that, Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy just started this nature bus this year. And if this site could be a bus catching point, that we could then take people to the forests, that would be amazing. And I know that John with the Schenectady River Center did a program out in, I can't tell you right now what forest that was. Yeah, in Sanders Preserve. Yeah, you were there, Steve, too, right? So yeah, so there's that would be super helpful. And then yeah, and there's all kinds of environmental ed type of things that people do with Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy that might also support, it wouldn't be operations, it would be more programming, but that's another group that would certainly like to have a conversation. I love it. I love all of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm glad you raised the arts aspect, because it is absolutely something we've talked about. A couple of our members are involved in local arts organizations, probably more than a couple, and including Heather Hutchinson, who's the head of Create, which might be the organization you're trying to think of. And they do tremendous, great stuff with kids mostly, but also all ages stuff, an arts organization. And Heather's very supportive of it. And we have just had those kind of talks at this level about potentially being involved. And the arts are part of, it's kind of central to Schoharie River Center's mission. And just from knowing the people I know on EcoSport, I think it's a good fit all around. So Thanks
Betsy
for bringing that up.
Betsy Sandberg is the person
yeah.
I'm thinking of. She's done amazing work with getting grants and for different people, and she's worked with Hamilton Hill Arts Center as well to get grant funding. So that's the person that we would. I don't know what. I think she works for the Schenectady Foundation actually. So, you've already talked to them. So, do you know Betsy Sandberg?
I know who she is, and I can find her. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
I'll share her contact information.
Great. Thank you.
Have we broached this with Sikkim?
We haven't talked to. I mean, talked to Deb there, but not informally, but certainly open to them having any role in this. Hi, Janet.
Janet?
I just, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Did somebody else have a comment?
No.
Okay, so I just wondered, you have a solar panel, but would you be heating the building with a heat pump of some kind?
Yes, that the idea is an air source heat pump powered by electricity, which will become a much more common approach as we get into our new world here. But yeah, that's the plan right now. Probably sort of like those wall-mounted PTAC units, because it's it's going to be used for offices. It's not a residential. I mean, it has to meet code, and it has to be efficient in keeping the heat to a certain level. But between having the building super insulated, we're actually going to make the walls thicker on the inside than they are now to be able to add more insulation and sealing the building up a lot and controlling the ventilation so that to remove any toxics and just to maintain indoor air quality, that should be adequate to heat the building.
So does NYSERDA have any incentives for that?
They do. They on the heating side, they do. One problem I'm having with this, and I may have talked to some of you about it, is that the building doesn't fit neatly into the categories that there's not a lot of support on the state level for nonprofit owned facilities, which I kind of spent my career dealing with nonprofits. I worked for the state for many years, and I'm not surprised that there's not, but that's a problem in my view. They should have more programs to directly fund nonprofit facilities. It's because of, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but a lot of it's driven by the way utilities are regulated in the state and the Public Service Commission. And if you're, the focus is on utility customers, you're either residential or commercial, and nonprofit buildings are lumped with commercial buildings. And of course, this is a municipally owned building, so it doesn't fit in either of those. So the plan is to separate out the utilities so that building is metered separately, and then Schoharie River would become the customer, and they could take advantage of some of those NYSERDA incentives. At least for the heating side, that will work. For the solar, I'm still having a little trouble identifying the right program for that. I mean, there are incentives for both, but
anything we did at the greenhouse, it's a municipal project because the city owns it. So Cornell or the Friends of the Greenhouse, we don't have anything to do with that. It's
right
between the city and
it's just included in there. You don't pay utilities, so you just pay the lease, or whatever you pay them.
Right. Cornell pays the lease.
Right. So then there might be since we talked a little bit in the past, so that might be an out. Maybe we can talk to Angie or Cornell or somebody to see if there's an opportunity there.
Or Chris Wallen.
Well, if there, yes, certainly Chris would have to be involved, but in terms of the way those are financed, if Cornell Cooperative Extension is the utility customer,
they're not.
Oh, they're not? So yeah, then it's much harder then. They're just don't, they haven't designed programs. It's mostly, this is NYSERDA, but also some of the utilities. But that's not to say, it's by no means the final answer. I've been working on this, and a lot of people have provided some help and advice, and I just might be missing something. So I will keep looking for you there too.
Thank you.
Any other questions and comments? All right, well, Tom, this was really helpful. And I know you've spearheaded this, and is there anything specific that individuals around Schenectady can be
Yeah.
doing as individuals?
Yes, thank you. There's two things, and I, first of all, all I did was complain to a lot of people about stuff, and as you know, anything like this, it's really a big team, big partnership to get it going, and that's why we've had some success so far. Please, if you have any opportunity to talk to any elected official, any at all, Paul Tonko, their office is aware of it, down to the Niska unit town council person or the city, I don't care. Any of them, the county people especially though, mention the program, push it, say, we think it's a great idea. And, and to just talk it up among your communities with if you continue, this has been very helpful for me. I got about six ideas written down here from your comments. So I think by continuing to think about how we fit, we got a great infrastructure of community and nonprofit organizations and businesses that want to do the right thing. So talk to other people in other networks, and if you have any other good ideas, let me know, or Josh or John or any of us. And yeah, that's it.
All right, well, it's a very exciting project, and we really appreciate that overview. The next speaker series, it's always the third Thursday of the month, and that will be November 16th. So watch your emails and check the ECOS website and for all the details and the Zoom link for that. Great. Hope everybody has a good night. Get outside. It's still October.
Thank you, everybody. It was great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom.